Okay, now we will switch in English, because now we have been talking about history, but in fact, history is not only this what was have been here 30 years ago, 100 years ago, but history is already this building also. It seems that it would be first new building which would be declared as a monument by Estonian Heritage Board. And I'm really pleased to welcome here architect of this huge, nice building. And I'm waiting from him that he would explain us what was his thought when he was with his colleague designing this huge building. Why they decided build the building like it is? What was what have been those basements on the top? They built up this new house. Please, Tsuyoshi, come here.
Hi, Tane. No, thank you very much, Julie. And also thank you very much for welcoming to Erum. Personally, it's an emotional feeling for coming back here to see our friends and also people knowing almost 15 years. So to give this the opportunity to just for this Tuesday workshop for talking about this Uue-Raadi area, that in terms of the architect, we are involved very much into the construction of this Estonian National Museum. That could be the base to share how we thought, how we started, how we struggle. So it could be the base for how it's been coming up from this idea. So just to introduce myself, the Tsuyoshi Tane, Japanese architect, and we are based in Paris. That it's been started for this Estonian National Museum project from 2016 with the former partner of the Atelier, Linnafoorumi, together to be ending for 2016. It wasn't planned, but it took 10 years to finish this project. Because of the challenge, how it started was from the opportunity. The 2005, there was large international competition for announcing Estonia to design new national museum, which was one of the big challenge for the country. And it's not in Tallinn. Also, you've been bringing to this kind of national museum in Tartu, which is one of the important challenge and the decision made. By starting from this, our importance is probably, this Baltic chain, which is sort of starting for independence to connect from the people to people by hands and singing for the wish of independence. As the competition started, which you can see this kind of area has been marked in a Uue-Raadi area. From today, it's hard to imagine it was very rough area, but it was really the case. And as you may know, the competition for architecture is being kind of given site that you have to give some certain proposal in order to make the design of the museum. As we are young architects, and we're trying to think what it could be the sort of museum space. But surprisingly, we discover a strange situation here, which was not something described in the competition. By researching ourselves, we realized that it was actually large airfield, which was a surprise for us. And by discovering for understanding what was there was actually it was made in this kind of Soviet period for the largest sort of airfield, military airbase. This was shocked us to see the right next to the construction site for the museum. There was huge, this kind of military airbase. And actually to realize this kind of situation that also the city has been sort of degenerate from somehow going to the south, but actually could not be reached towards this area because of sort of more, let's say, psychological or could be sort of situation for the mental problem that it's just blocking the situation to be part of this Uue-Raadi area. And due to the fact that there was sort of the long process of this protest and also the struggle for the period for the Estonian nations to be in part of, especially for Tartu citizen, to be how this rehabilitation of the Raadi area was very, very long process to go. So after by knowing this history and the past, but also easy to forget this kind of negative, okay, something happened before, something easy, okay, let's to see something to the new idea. Now actually we wanted to think this, the past is not always better to forget. Actually to continue to be brave to go for the future, which we propose to make it sort of the continuity of this airfield turn into the National Museum, which was probably surprise for the jury members, but also we thought this could be the way to go to the future for Estonia. So by proposing this idea was to give this form coming out as extension of airfield turn into the National Museum, which is kind of opening as a large canopy. And then going down gradually to meet towards the airfield. So in terms of the size, is that 72 meter wide, but also 350 meter long. But connecting to the museum at the airfield becomes almost 1.5 kilometer of longest probably national museum ever built in the world. So we were very excited about the proposal to show the sort of presence of the museum would be more announced in the sort of field spaces, and to have large canopy to announce the public entrance for hosting people, destination or from different east, south to welcome to the people. And of course, Estonia is sort of long winter time to be sort of merged into the white snow to be part of the disappearing into the landscape. And the proposal was also to have this kind of large roof to be connecting from the entrance to the other side of the museum. So once you go out from the entrance B, which goes towards the airfield, in that stage, we proposed this kind of large spider in order to announce this kind of transformation of the scale, to feel like somehow the space of the museum turned into the large, completely infinite space. And also this idea of memory field was trying to transform the idea of, let's say, military air base turn into the sort of Estonian nation's continuity. So in order to propose idea to have sort of different intervention can happen on this airfield. And also continuing from the airfield turn into the sort of like takeoff towards the museum space to the sky, which becomes sort of hope and the wish for the idea. And I was very young, but so we were like almost 15 years ago, but we surprisingly won this competition at our first challenge, and it was great honor and also great surprise for us to be the sort of winner of the architect. And next day also like it's kind of our idea to be covering for all the newspapers to show that this is a winning project for the Estonian National Museum. But other big surprise from us is that as you saw this idea of the spider, actually the one of the jury expert was against this our idea. And actually before the announcement of the competition, she was already writing against this museum competition winners. As if like sort of a Soviet invasion coming back to invade for the Estonian national project. So we were very shocked, but also there was sort of starting for this national debate between whether this building was right places and also it was the right decision to take this museum project. So we went to the sort of this big discussion. the owner, we've been also caricatured from the posthumous to be sort of the architect. Fortunately, there was other scandal that's been kind of cut off this kind of national discussion. So the museum project started from 2006 that are sort of coming back to here to see the sort of almost this kind of abandoned field with the museum people looking at the sort of where and how it's going to be our future. But at that time also like we have sort of kind of misunderstood by the media to be sort of recovering ourselves to going around City Hall to meet different people to explain the concept of the project and the meaning of this memory field. It took some time to discuss with the people to see how it's possible to come. Even one of the early stage that also the general construction company came to say before the tender procedure, he said, this project too expensive, we cannot build. So already starting from this kind of journey from us. And also like we came almost every month to meet Estonian museum people to discuss about this large project, to be together with kind of discussion, how it could be possible. So we brought large models and discussing to this kind of official meeting. Of course, when you go out from official meeting, the other worker is waiting for us to see where they want to sit down with their friend. So we have also listening to this kind of a situation to see how to work together. Sometimes we came to the meeting, but also we are supposed to work, but at the same time to guide it for the cleaning of the gardens together. And surprisingly, probably you know this Mr. Soap, other famous person for the counties. And he came one day to say that, I have an idea. So he came to tell us that his idea was to show this Uue-Raadi project, which was given in a way that our museum is being located here. One of the important airfield has been cut out, chopped by this kind of sort of motorways all around. And he wanted to build this kind of large golf course here, and then soccer field, and a hotel, and then some hockey halls, and some shopping centers, and also hypermarket with full of parking lot. Even 3D model was ready to give us this kind of idea. I hope it's not going to happen this time, but it was sort of a big discussion for us to start. So he gathered us to say that, almost kind of convincing us to say, yes, this is something we can agree. But as you can see, yeah, we look very angry about this situation. But behind us also there was other investors ready to pressure us that we have to say yes. But we are very shocked and then we don't know how to do it. So we call our friends and also gathering together to see how can we solve this situation. So fortunately, we organized this kind of workshop for 2 days, trying to sort of detach from this like typical modern development to have this kind of like a money industry to use this land in order to not, let's say, damage this kind of important project. So we kind of try to compromise in a way that the building should be lower than the forest, and also the speed of the car has to be quite slow in order to sort of manage to make this kind of, let's say, historical monument as a heritage to be preserved. And fortunately, it was 2008 and 2009. Probably you may remember that this kind of economic crisis, all these projects disappear. So this because of the crisis that we saved all these kind of investors and development project. So we are lucky to be saved to this situation, but also at the same time, this kind of the large budgets for the Estonian museum also like start missing because of the crisis. And in this way, like we kind of postponing for this museum project and took 2 years of suspension. So we have been struggling for, is it really going to be built, this project or not? Fortunately, the government decision took this kind of opportunity to, let's say, challenging for really make this national dream of the project to be built. So 2013, the tender started formally to initiate it, and then finally the chosen contractor to be started to the construction. So it's a 34,000 square meter of the large museum construction. It took almost 36 months to come here to build all this kind of large construction. It was like a lot of effort, a lot of challenge, and also non-stopping for, let's say, 36 months from summer to the winter time, even the winter minus 90 degrees that keep continuing to build the project. And also, like one day, we were called to be coming to the sort of the one of the important part of the facade of the museum, which was important part. But when I came here myself, and then the construction company was saying that it's ready to see the facade, but actually it was supposed to be one large piece of glass, but actually he proposed only these kind of small panels that I have to choose from these small pieces of 4 different sample. Then it was very difficult to choose which one it could be the best facade for the museum. So I was struggling, and then almost surrounded by the other people. And then the contractor said, no, I have another sample that you have to choose from one of those. And it was very difficult for me to choose from this kind of small piece of sample to imagine almost 1 kilometer of the museum image as an important decision. And it was a dark day, so I have to ask them, like, can you wait for tomorrow morning to come back to see what we can see from the sunlight in the morning? So next day, coming back here site and to see the sort of sunlight, and then to see how the different appearance of the museum, the facade as an image. And that day, like, there was 30 people around me, and then I have no more choice to say, okay. So finally, I have to say kind of one of the top one to take a decision. It was kind of almost having a stomachache, but also very difficult pressure to say. But somehow, by saying this kind of pressure to choose this, what it could be the vision of the future. So somehow, architects are not just designing building, but also giving the decision and then to choose the vision of the future, which is one of the important part of the mission to be the architect. So after by saying this one, and then a few months later, all the production of the facade, and it's being started to install, everything is being kind of finally built. So this was sort of a process of the construction of the 36 months, and after the building has been formed and to be opened in the 2016, and officially 1st of October. It's almost 5 years ago. It's been completed. And as you see, this kind of great challenge for almost 10 years to go through this kind of experience with the help of our friends from the Estonian local partners, and then to really surprise and also giving this kind of opportunity to go through this idea, and then also the change for summer and the winter to see this kind of transformation of the landscape, and then greatly all this kind of historical heritage arts being kept. And then also probably you've been many times to the museum spaces to see how the public participation to be not being closed. So museum it always needs to be welcoming for the public, and then necessary to be also welcoming to see how things are going to be evolved. This is one of the important part of the museum, especially National Museum, is not being closed off for these kind of spaces. So when people are coming to use these spaces are almost welcoming to see different type of event as sort of living collection, as sort of human activities, and then nations are participating to the different type of event. So museum is not only for the collection. Museum is more for the people to participate, to giving these kind of ideas and debate, and make things to be more living kind of a place to be. And you see like all this kind of the timeline also from the today's Estonian to the Ice Age to be continuously made. And also like this, the winter time is also going to be the very white places. So the opening was greatly also the, let's say, announced, and then we are very surprised also like having also the many people to be coming, and also the president of Estonia started giving a speech. And also one of the surprise was also too many Estonians that I have never seen so much into the same place. So we are very surprised for the amount of Estonian nation are coming to the one place to be together. But also this public place for the museum, also this is one of the construction terms to be challenging to have a like largest bridge construction. So we were a little bit surprised for how the building can be sustained for this load of the amount of Estonian people. But it was beautiful ceremony for like 6 hours of broadcasting to have different ceremony and singing, and also some theater performances. And next day for the 1st of October become kind of public opening event. And this is sort of like as an architect feeling of, so museum is not only the place for the museum workers, but also really coming to feel like a pure public place where people are coming from different generations and then meeting together. And also this kind of like having different events and to be hosting for what's happening for everyday life. And also like 2018 was also like there was a big event for the 100 years anniversary for the Republic of Estonia, which was a great honor that also the Estonian nation decided to have kind of hosting this such a great event and to be taking in the place for the Estonian National Museum. And also like having this kind of different event and then also gathering to have like this ceremony. So this becomes sort of the place really for the Estonian house for things happen and also generate for the future for the Estonia. And also just I wanted as one more thing that this first idea of this airfield, which was one of the important part of the continuity of the memory of the future. It's first time that 2019 is radically Estonia also made this kind of large event for the Metallica rock concert. So something in before this project happened, nobody has been imagined this kind of like situation. And this is sort of the power of the architecture and power of the vision of the future, which bring us to really change how the past of the history can also generate for our future to be. So I hope this sort of situation can allow us to really discuss about it, how the future is not always being just modernized or developing, but actually to keep and the heritage of the memory can be also bring into the future. Aita, thank you.
Stay here. Thank you very much. You know, your presentation was for us really important because it once more is telling us how unique the area what we are discussing is. This is a real challenge because this, as before we get known, this area was really important for the defense of Soviet Union, and it's also really important for Estonian nation. Maybe those two periods are in contradiction, but both for both Raadi was or is really important place. So now we are thinking about this area as a future area for people to live here. We cannot forget those two aspects because they are really important. We cannot play a game that this is normal development area. This is not normal development area. This is really important area for Estonian nation. But once more, is there someone who want to ask something? Tiit.
Hello, Tsuyoshi. It's always nice to see you back here.
Thank you.
But my question is about, you told about the history, how the museum was accomplished, how we made this first event in order to find new solutions for the area. But how do you see the actual developments surrounding these Raadi areas? What are your thoughts about
Today?
What has happened already?
You mean like today's situation? I think this is a lot of discussion. Like actually, Tid was also jury member of the Estonian National Museum, as well as Karin. Also, like we've been discussing a lot for this future. Today, I think there is no plan. This is a problem. So because of there's no plan, there's no continuity for after the museum is being built. But we have not creating next step of the vision how this Raadi area and how this kind of particularity of the unique situation for the Soviet time, but also today Estonia is also giving a new vision for. I think there is very unique cases, but actually there are many places in the world which has sort of military, ex-military places are almost ignored or forgotten. So I think Estonia has a very great, brave vision that how this place can be also very strong cultural heritage, which is something very important. So this is why I to imagine that this workshop can allow us to discuss and then how to really think about the next step. This is what I think we can make it something good conclusion.
Yes, exactly. This is our goal today, to find if there is possible to have some compromise on the vision. Thank you. Thank you really much. Sorry, Katri.
I really enjoyed your presentation and your retrospective. I'm Kadri Leetmaa, human geographer at University of Tartu. And I wanted to ask that, did you think also about these meanings that quite substantial part of residents in Tartu who are Russian speakers and who have a little bit different memory fields, how they connect with this project and these continuities? Was this somehow part of thoughts when you created your project?
I think like this was a large discussion for the also like I think between the Estonian nation as well as ourselves to ask what it means for the people who has been living here, and also how also the part of the Russian speakers to be part of it. And I think important part to look at the future. It's sort of important part because of the different generation have different memories, and old people have different memory than younger generations. And even our younger generation of children generation or even further future generation, how important part to really think for the future discussion rather than sort of like keeping this kind of your own properties as nation state. Actually important part for the memories can generate our future. So to not forget about our past, actually the continuity of your past and our past to be integrated to see the future. So this is one of the great challenge that we were also understood the Estonian nation, and 1/4 was sort of Russian speaker, but how socially and also the future for Estonian nation to be integrated to the future. This was sort of continuity of the Soviet air base turning to the National Museum is kind of important to demonstrate the continuity for looking the future. It's the sort of vision for the understanding. This is one of the great thought from ourselves, but also from the Estonian friends that are telling us also this is a concept of this.
I really agree that those two memories can coexist here. That they can both they can be present both here. It's not necessary to demolish one and expose only the second. So they need to be together here. Thank you really much. It was a pleasure to have you.
Thank
here.
you.